I'm here today to tell you about the top 8 mistakes parents make when teaching a child to read. These are mistakes you want to avoid in order to have a good experience. The first mistake is being impatient. Despite what other YouTube videos may tell you, teaching a child to read is not something that can be done in 2 weeks or even a month. It's something that might take you 6 months or more. This is especially true if your child has already started to learn to read with methods that encourage bad habits such as guessing or looking for words that match the picture. It's better to learn good habits, and it's faster to learn good habits. So for this reason, students that need remedial reading may take much longer than teaching a child who has never learned to read. So the most important thing to do, no matter what else you do, is to be patient. Another mistake is being inconsistent. It's better to have short lessons that are 5 or 10 minutes long and do them daily for weeks or months than it is to try to do a 30 or 40-minute lesson twice a week. Short and consistent beats long and inconsistent. Another mistake is pushing too hard. If your child is showing signs of frustration, such as excessive whining or crying, or is getting overly fidgety, it's time to stop. You can try again the next day. Similarly, if your child seems overly tired, like he needs to run around outside, or she is very hungry, that is not the time to do a reading lesson. You want to associate learning to read as a process that, while it might not always be pleasant, at least it isn't miserable for either of you. Another mistake is moving too fast. The goal is for your child to be able to read the words correctly by sounding them out 80 or 90% of the time before moving on to new material. It's also important to regularly review the phonograms or sounds that the letters make or letter combinations make regularly. Just because your son, for example, remembers that the letters OW have 2 sounds, O and OW, one day, doesn't mean that he will remember the next day or a week later. It's important to regularly go back to the previously learned phonograms to make sure that your child remembers them in the future. Another terrible thing to do is let them guess. This is a really bad habit, one that is unfortunately encouraged by many schools. While at the beginning, readers may be able to get by with guessing, particularly by looking at the pictures, this is something that you cannot let go on. Eventually, they will come across long words such as international or compartmentalization. And those are words you can't guess. You have to be able to break the words apart into their sounds and sound them out. You've probably heard of problems in pharmacies where the pharmacist gave the wrong medication to somebody. This is often because the drug names are very long, and some of them are very similar to each other. If a pharmacist has learned to guess instead of looking at all the letters, the wrong medication may be given. So for this reason, you must make sure to not encourage your child to guess. If necessary, write the word down for him or her and encourage the child to circle the phonograms that they need. For example, if you have a long word and it has the phonogram OW in it, and you know that your child has learned that phonogram, circle the phonogram and ask the child, what are the 2 sounds this makes? When he remembers that it makes those 2 sounds, have him try to read the word slowly. The next mistake is that assuming that reading and spelling are the same skill. They are not. There are many people who are good readers who can sound out long, complicated words, but are not good at spelling. My own children are examples of this. My oldest son learned to read without too much trouble at the beginning, but his spelling skills lagged behind by several years. Don't let this frustrate you. Get them reading. Think of spelling as a totally separate skill. Make sure you have reasonable expectations. Owning many books and spending hours per week reading yourself is great, and I encourage that. However, that is not a substitute for your child learning phonics. Your child will not learn to read just by having good books around. While the occasional child may seem to teach himself or herself, but in general, that is not a realistic expectation. Children need to understand that letters stand for different sounds, and that the key to learning to read is to know the sounds the letters make and read those sounds in order. Another mistake, and the last one I'm going to talk about today, is thinking that reading equals writing. Writing skills may lag reading skills by years, and this is okay. This can be particularly true with little boys who have so many things that they would rather be doing than sitting there trying to write, particularly if they've been told to write a story. It's okay if their writing skills are lagging. It's more important to get your children reading well with phonics. In addition, even if your child has learned to read easily without trouble or any signs of dyslexia, your child may still have another condition called dysgraphia. This condition makes it very difficult for a child to get words down on paper. For this reason, keep writing as a separate skill from reading. It's okay if your child learns to read at 6 but still struggles with writing even when he is 8 or 9 or 10. Writing is a separate skill that will come with time and good consistent work. If you would like more help learning to teach your child to read, you can use the free videos that I have. In each video, we start with reviewing old phonograms. Phonograms is just a long word to talk about the sounds that a letter or group of letters make. In each lesson, we also learn new phonograms, which we then use to read real words, which we first sound out slowly and then say it fast. I read every word slowly like this, eed, and then I say it fast, read. I do this to model to children how it works when coming across new words that they have trouble with. We practice with real words first, and then, importantly, we practice with nonsense words. Nonsense words are an important tool that many programs do not include. The purpose of them is to make sure that your children really know what sounds each phonogram makes. It's easy to try to guess based on thinking about real words you know. However, if you have fake words, you can't guess. You know it's not a real word, so your only choice is to sound it out. If your child seems to do well reading real words, but then really struggles when he gets to nonsense words, that means he needs extra review with the phonograms and lots of encouragement to get over the habit of guessing. I hope these tips have helped you learn important things to avoid in order to make teaching a child to read a rewarding process.